Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you're new here, you've just tuned into one of the most thrilling journeys through music, emotion, and pure entertainment. Here, we dive into the most unforgettable moments that happen on the biggest stages in the world. Moments that make you believe in talent, passion, and the power of never giving up. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell icon, and get ready for today's incredible story. Because this one is wild. Imagine walking onto the America's Got Talent stage, a dream that millions of performers share. The lights are blinding, the cameras are rolling, and the audience is buzzing with anticipation. But now imagine you're part of a hard rock band, the kind of group that thrives on roaring guitars, crashing drums, and vocals that soar through the roof. The problem: hard rock isn't exactly the kind of genre that wins over the AGT judges easily. Over the years, we've seen pop singers, dancers, magicians, and comedians take the spotlight, but rock bands, they've had to fight for every bit of respect they get. And yet, this band, a group of friends who had poured their lives into their music, walked onto that stage with fire in their eyes. The crowd wasn't sure what to expect. The judges exchanged skeptical looks. And Simon Cowell, known for his brutally honest opinions, leaned back in his chair with that familiar smirk that said, "All right, let's see if you can actually pull this off." The host introduced them, their instruments gleaming under the stage lights. The lead singer took a deep breath, looked at his bandmates, and gave a subtle nod. This was it, their one chance to prove the world wrong. The drummer counted them in: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, boom. The first chord exploded through the arena like a thunderclap. The audience literally jumped in their seats. The guitars screamed, the bass thundered, and the drums pounded with power and precision. The energy was raw, electric, unstoppable. But what made it truly special wasn't just the sound, it was the emotion behind it. You could feel years of struggle, passion, and determination in every note. The lead singer's voice hit the mic like lightning, raspy, soaring, filled with grit and heart. The lyrics told a story of resilience, of facing doubt, of never letting the world silence you. And that message, combined with that explosive performance, started to turn the tide. The judges, who at first seemed hesitant, began to nod along. Heidi and Sophia exchanged surprised glances, whispering, "They're actually really good." Even Simon leaned forward. That's right, Simon Cowell, the man who's seen it all, started tapping his fingers on the desk, caught up in the rhythm. The audience felt it too. What began as polite applause turned into cheers, then roars, then a standing ovation that filled the studio. By the time the final note rang out and the singer dropped to his knees in pure exhaustion, the entire crowd was on their feet. The judges were smiling, even laughing in disbelief. And for a few seconds, there was silence, the kind of silence that only comes after something truly powerful. Then Simon leaned into his microphone, grinned, and said, "I did not expect that." The crowd went wild. He continued, "You know, when you walked out here with the leather jackets and the guitars, I thought, oh no, another rock band trying too hard. But that performance, that was something else. It was real. It was loud. It was passionate. And it worked." The other judges chimed in, each with their own praise. Heidi said, "You guys are bringing rock back. That was amazing." Sophia added, "I love the energy, the emotion, it was so powerful." And Howie, he stood up and gave them a salute. "That," he said, "is how you prove people wrong." The band members could barely contain their emotions. Tears welled up in their eyes. They hugged each other, overwhelmed by what had just happened. But this was just the beginning. The clip of their audition hit the internet like wildfire. Within hours, millions of views poured in. Fans across the world commented things like, "Finally, real music on AGT." And, "These guys just brought rock back to life." Music blogs started writing about them. Radio stations replayed the audition. Even former AGT contestants shared it, saying how refreshing it was to see a pure, unapologetic rock performance on that stage. The band's story began to unfold. They weren't industry veterans. They weren't famous musicians. They were regular people with regular jobs: a construction worker, a high school teacher, a delivery driver, and a mechanic. But what they shared was a dream, the dream to make music that mattered. They had been playing together for years, performing at small clubs, bars, and local festivals. They'd spent countless nights practicing in a cramped garage, surrounded by wires, amps, and the sound of dreams echoing off the walls. They'd been told over and over again that their kind of music was outdated, that rock is dead, that nobody listens to that anymore. But they refused to believe it. And when they got that email saying they had been selected for America's Got Talent, they knew this was their one shot to prove that rock and roll was still alive, that it still had the power to move people. In the following weeks, as the competition heated up, they faced new challenges. Each round demanded something fresh, something even more powerful. Their second performance was a risk. Instead of playing an original song, they decided to cover a legendary rock anthem, but with their own twist. The lights dimmed, the crowd waited, and then they began. The song started soft, haunting, almost acoustic. The lead singer's voice cracked with emotion as the first verse filled the air. You could see people swaying gently, lost in the moment. And then, just when everyone thought it was going to stay mellow, the band unleashed an explosion of sound. The guitars roared, the drums thundered, and the stage lit up with flames and strobes. The crowd went berserk. Simon literally stood up mid-song. He couldn't help himself. The energy was just that contagious. By the end of the performance, the audience was chanting their name. The band looked stunned, they'd done it again. Backstage, the host ran up to them, microphone in hand, shouting, "You just blew the roof off this place. How do you feel?" The lead singer, sweaty and trembling with adrenaline, could barely speak. "We just wanted to remind everyone," he said, "that rock never dies." And those words became the headline everywhere. Rock never dies. The band quickly became fan favorites. Each week, their performances combined raw emotion with incredible showmanship, pyrotechnics, synchronized lights, and even a string quartet at one point. They weren't just performing, they were telling a story through music, the story of perseverance, unity, and belief in something bigger than yourself. One of the most emotional moments came during the semifinals. They dedicated their song to a friend, the band's original bassist, who had passed away just months before the audition. The stage was set in blue light, a single spotlight on a lone bass guitar resting at the center. The audience was silent. Then the band began to play. The song was powerful but heartbreaking, a tribute to friendship, loss, and carrying someone's spirit through your art. The lead singer's voice cracked with emotion, the guitarist closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face as he played each note. When the song ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. The judges stood. The audience applauded for what felt like forever. Simon said softly, "That was more than music. That was a message. And your friend would be proud." It was a defining moment. By the time they reached the finals, everyone, fans, judges, critics, knew that this band was special. They weren't just performing.